Okay, so this next video is about the general sort of user interface of 12D model, namely the views and how to control them, and add and remove information, all that sort of stuff. So these windows, separate windows you see, are called views. We can have as many or as few as we want. This stuff up the top is your main menus and toolbars and stuff like that, which we'll go into in the next one. Basically what we'll start on is F2, escape, and the mouse. They're basically your three main things that you're going to use every time you crack open 12D. So F2, or the F2 key on your keyboard, will bring up a string inquire box. So from there, you don't need to hit the pick button. We can just click on a string, and it will give us information on what that string is, the model that it's in, the name, the type, colour, all that sort of stuff. You also see X, Y, Z values, so easting, northing, elevation. Now that easting, northing, elevation is where we've picked on the string, so if we pick up there, it'll be slightly different, and you can do that for anything on the screen. So if you're trying to figure out what something is, F2, click on it. This one here looks to be a survey model. I'll explain the 600 and stuff later, but you can generally get most information from there. Okay, and if you've got something highlighted and you hit the escape key, that should all disappear. So generally I'll hold, my left hand will be hovering over the escape and the F2 key. Just be careful that you don't hit F1, that's Windows help, which will launch a new window. And F3 disables the point snap. You see up in the top left here, I'll hit F3. See how that's gone a lighter colour now. Hit it again, that's going to cause you all sorts of dramas. Okay, now the mouse, for anyone that's used to using AutoCAD, you'll be used to pressing the middle button and panning around. It's not quite as easy in 12D, so I find that I'll use the wheel a lot more, to zoom out, pull the wheel back, to zoom in, pull the wheel forward, push the wheel forward. And if you'll get used to it eventually, but if you put your mouse where you want to zoom to, and then roll forward or backwards, and then zoom out, zoom into another area, put your mouse where you want it, and zoom in and zoom out. Next thing I want to show you is basically what happens when we create a new project in 12D using the customization that we showed in the last video. So I'll just open up another instance of 12D and we'll create a new project. So to go in new, browse to where you want it to be. I'll just put, you would, as I said in the last video, you'll put it in Ignite somewhere. I'm putting it in Ignite as well, but I'll just create a working folder. Select again, we'll give it a name, new project. Make sure this box here is ticked. Make sure you've got your env configs.4d file selected. Click on that button there, and AR1 ENG v11 select, and then go new. Now you watch the screen, it's creating the project, and it will create a standard set of views for you to use. Thinking. Okay, so if you notice down the bottom here, all these views were created. So to cycle between the view that you're looking at, you can click on these buttons. So they're just generic views for you to separate your work if you want to. At the end of this video we'll go through and I'll show you, I'll demonstrate to you that they're really quite irrelevant, apart from viewing and sorting your data a lot easier. We'll just close that one down and go back to this one here. Okay, so the basic, what you going to want to do first in any project, if there's some data in it, is either add models or take models away from a view. So here, what I'll do to demonstrate, I'll just take all of these models off. Okay, so there's nothing turned on in this view. So I can now go and turn on some models. So I've got a bucket load of stuff here. The models I've got in this area are all these models, so all I did there was press and hold the left mouse button, drag down and let go, which is going to turn on multiple models. I can do the same thing to turn them off, or I can obviously turn one on a time, or I can turn that one off again, or I can select, press and hold left mouse button, drag down, skip one, hold down the control button, press and hold the left mouse button and drag down again, just to, I guess, carve out a selection which is only missing that one model in the middle. So same for taking models away. I can press and hold on the left mouse button, let go, can hold down control, press and hold, drag down and take all bar one of those models away. You'll notice over here on the right that nothing changed. So these buttons here are purely controlling this one view. This operates completely separate to that view. As you'll see, I've got a whole bunch of other stuff turned on. Now, just make sure everything's turned on in there. Sometimes especially when you're reading CAD data in from engineers, they might have put it in the wrong spot. So be a good demonstration for the zoom buttons. As I said, I use the mouse 99% of the time, but sometimes you may want to use, or you might prefer to use, these buttons here. So zoom all, pan, which is like a function, so you have to click it on, press and hold and move around, and then you can still zoom in and out, but as soon as you hit escape, you'll notice down here, I'll just turn that on again, see how it says view pan in the bottom left. As soon as I hit escape, it turns the function off and I can no longer do that. So anyway, back to what I was talking about. We've got two lots of data on that are quite a way away from each other. So I'm going to do a zoom all, and it's proved a liar of me. Oh no, there is data here. Okay, so I've got two tiny dots on the screen. Okay, so this is possible to happen when engineers send you through CAD data that's not on datum, as in the right position. So you can use the zoom window button now and just draw a little box. That dot's hard to see, where you can just zoom right up on it, and there's that data. So that's quite a common thing with AutoCAD data. So if you ever find yourself with two tiny little dots on the screen, you need to have a look at the positioning of it. There's also a shrink window and a view previous, which I don't really use at all. Use your mouse button if you need to use your zoom window to zoom back into that data. We'll just nothing on there. Just turn this on. They're the culprit models that are far away, so we can turn them off in this view, and then when I hit zoom all, I just get that window. So it's possible you can work on two different data sets far away. You just got to be mindful that that's what the case is. This is two completely separate data sets, unrelated to each other. Just put them in there to demonstrate that. The other thing we've got in our views is a tick cross box. Silly name, quite powerful. So basically what I'll do for this one is I'll turn on vertices first. So we just click on vertices. You'll notice now every vertice or point at the end of each segment of each string. So this string's got 4 segments, and the blue crosses are the vertices of that string or polyline, whatever you want to call it. So you can see where the string's joined. Another one, Z values. So this basically just turned on the Z value for each of those vertices. So these ones are obviously 2D, they're at 0, RL0. This one at the back is at 60.006. So great way to just turn on some data and see if it's got heights or if it's 2D. A common height you'll see if it's 2D is -999. That's a bit of a 12D default for a string with no height. The other one we can do is string names. That one's not very good to do that. We can turn it on over here. Again, they're completely separate, so I turned on Z values here, nothing changed here. Just close that window down. So I've turned on string names here. This string name is called RP. There's obviously a lot more data here than over there. It's turned into a bit of a mess. And realistically, the only way you're going to see string names anyway is if the data is originated from 12D. If you've brought it in from CAD, nothing will have any names. So this data has come from Logan City Council, and it's got everything's got a name, so it was generated within 12D. The other thing we need to show you is we'll just turn off all of these models. The other thing you can do if you want to turn off every model bar one is you can select them all. So that was just a press and hold left mouse button, drag it all the way down, it will scroll down to the bottom, let go, and then if you hold down control, click on the model that you want to keep on and hit select. I've now left with that one model that I wanted to turn on. Now this is a tin, which is a 3D surface, so to speak, made up of lots of triangles. At the moment you'll notice that so what we're seeing is called tin edges. Okay. The other thing we can see is tin contours, but both of these are off. Okay. If this model is turned on, you have to look at something. You can't look at nothing. So the default is to see the edges. Okay. If I turn contours, right, see contours are now on. So now I've just turned contours on. The edges have disappeared, and I'm now just looking at the contours. You can view both at the same time. Generally, you'll just want to see the contours, so you can turn the edges off. Okay, the default Over here at the far left of each of the plan views are the view settings. Don't need to get too carried away in here, but if you ever want to change the way a tin looks, you come into here, settings, tins, and this is what's referred to in 12D as a walk right. So here's the I'll go back to this one, settings. You're walking right. I'm not pressing any buttons, I'm just hovering from left to right across that little arrow, going down to the next section I want of the menu, walk right, and contours. So here the standard for all the plan views that are created is 0.1 meter for your minor contours and 0.5 meters for your major, orange and magenta. You can turn them to whatever you want. So let's, for this example, change it to 1 meter and 5 meters and hit set. Now we see very few contours. In this instance, 0.1 and 0.5 is probably more suited, but if you're looking at something with a very steep slope, you might want to reduce those a bit. And as always, finish or set or whatever to get rid of those windows. Your save project reminder will come up quite often. You always want to hit yes, so you save whatever you're doing in the model. And then finally, just on these views again, they're just views, they're not data, so feel free, if you want to use one view for all your data and work that way, then that's fine. I'd recommend using multiple ones so you can sort of break up your data, which we'll go through in a bit more detail later. But I could delete all these views and I've got no views left now. Just create a new any view and all my data is still there, so don't be afraid if you need to reorganize your views or whatever to help you segregate your data. Go for gold. You're not going to delete anything. That's it. Till the next one.